Hello and welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and we continue our coverage of the historic India-United Kingdom trade deal that's been signed by the two Prime Ministers earlier today. And joining me now, one of the leading lights of Indian industry and in fact the largest shareholder in iconic British company, British Telecom, Sunil Bharti Mittal, founder and chairman of Bharti Enterprises and the co-chair of the India-UK CEO Forum. We are also joined by Chandrajit Banerjee, the Director General of the Confederation of Indian Industry. Welcome to this show. Mr. Mittal, I want to start with you. You don't have just a present day connection with the United Kingdom. You have a connection due to telecom that goes back several decades. How historic is this moment where a former colony of Imperial Britain has now signed a trade deal which very clearly will benefit India's economy, which is much larger than that of the United Kingdom?
Yeah, I agree with you, Siddharth. This is truly a historic moment. It's rare to see FTA between two large economies. And here we have two big, great nations, India and UK, signing this FTA today under the aegis of the two prime ministers. And $3.5 trillion economy sitting on each side clearly is a testimony to a very deftly negotiated deal over the last 3 years. 4 prime ministers have changed here in the UK, and India has had the same solid leadership of our prime minister, driving this agreement through and finally coming to the conclusion today. We were part of that celebratory morning signing ceremony. And I can tell you that I've spoken to many Indian business leaders today, as well as the British leaders. This is one of the most balanced FTA seen in a long time, and that's why it's been called a win-win for both countries.
Absolutely. And viewers, that is Sunil Bharti Mittal standing to the right of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the UK Premier also there on your screens. Other leading lights of Indian industry, including Mr. Piramal, Anil Agarwal and several others are there. One more quick point for understanding, as we see the fine print of this entire agreement, there is clearly a lot of increased market access. Mr. Mittal, you are not just a player in India, you are a global player with footprint in Africa apart from the United Kingdom. How significant is this deal from the point of view of the United Kingdom, which after Brexit was perhaps looking for a new economic trajectory and partnership?
Well, I think there is tremendous amount of complementarity between UK and India. And if you look at what UK has, India needs, and what India has, UK also needs equally badly, I would say. So let me point out a few of the highlights here. The high-tech areas of defense, nuclear, space, biosciences is an area where UK has a lot of technology and IP are sitting. But it's a market that they have in a limited way. India, on the other hand, is 1.5 billion people. Very large market. Talent availability is becoming a problem in the Western world. As the population ages, India has huge amounts of high quality talent. And then manufacturing in the Western world is more expensive, and India offers a low cost manufacturing base. India needs technologies, drones, we need the hypersonic missiles, we need the UAV, we need the fighter jets, we need the nuclear energy, we need the green hydrogen. And now you combine this, it truly becomes a very powerful combination between the two countries. And as you know, in every negotiation of a trade deal, there are resistances. What you want is resisted from the other side. And this went on for 2-3 years. And finally, it came down to 2 or 3 points, which were settled in the last few months. And one of them was our need to send our professionals into the UK, our talent into the UK, and avoiding the social security contributions, which were causing a lot of stress to Indian companies because you were making contributions which you never used and returned back to India. That was settled as well. So both in goods and services, which includes high tech, which includes MSME, whether it's small artisans or ethnic wear professionals, yoga teachers, nurses, doctors, everybody gets a leg up here.
Absolutely. I want to come to Chandrajit. Chandrajit, from a point of view of 2 specific sectors, textiles and alcohol. On textiles, it clearly seems that we are a gainer at the cost of countries like Bangladesh or Vietnam. And on alcohol, we have provided access along with automobiles, if I may add another sector. Explain that to our viewers, what has been won and what has maybe been lost.
So, you spoke about textiles and apparels, and today with the type of elimination that we are seeing on the tariff side, we will obviously gain tremendously in terms of access into the UK market. But what happens is that other countries which were having that advantage, many other countries which had advantage of the tariff, India would now be able to sort of compete with that, and we would be able to, secure the UK market, which is going to be critical for us. And we see a huge a component of our exports being directed towards UK when it comes to textiles, which also helps us build more capacity in India, which helps us bring in more investment into the sector, and of course jobs, which is a very high labor intensive sector. You spoke about alcohol. Yes, of course, it is good that we see a gradual phasing down of the tariffs, and this encourages actually. Today, there are several Indian brands of Indian liquors, Indian whiskey, which are also now becoming globally sort of known, acknowledged. But I would think it is very important for us to also understand that any parallel economy which was there in this regard would be highly discouraged, would be greatly discouraged, and that would be also primarily to the advantage of our economy.
Absolutely. Mr. Mittal, I come back to you for a broader picture. You've seen over your entire career and been a member of countless trade delegations. Explain to our viewer what it has taken Prime Minister Narendra Modi to move from a stage where for quite a few years in the first two terms we saw no major trade deal, and now we've seen this intensive effort for a renewed trade engagement bilaterally with multiple nations, and the United States trade deal is the big one that is still to be done. What is driving this renewed approach?
Well, Siddharth, in the first term of Prime Minister, the world was still in the bilateral mode, where more the multilateral mode, where WTO and large deals under TTP and other things were being discussed. It's only the last few years that momentum of bilateral trade deals have picked up, because in very large sense, the global trade deals, which were envisaged under WTO, and I personally worked for the ICC chairmanship for many years in that program, is now really not relevant anymore, and it's becoming more deals between big nations, big blocs. So India and NAFTA, which is the 4 European countries, India, Australia, India, UAE, India, Saudi, and now India, UK. So you are seeing a lot of bilateral deals coming through. This, to my mind, sets the stage and roadmap for India-EU treaty, which has also been in the works. And also, very importantly, India-US trade deal, which has been much talked about. There have been a few extensions. A lot of hectic parleys are underway. And I think this really is a good framework in which two large economies or large countries can work together to come to agreements which are mutually beneficial to both sides. So I think this will help India's hand in negotiations, especially with the EU, because most of the traits of those markets are similar to the UK.
Mr. Mittal, one of the sort of criticisms in India is perhaps to do with giving away too much. So the fine print gives you a far different picture than what some of the political headlines might capture. But to the average Indian who may sort of believe that this is going to negatively impact Make in India, it will negatively impact Atmanirbharta, is that the correct way to look at it? Because over the last several years, we have been putting in a lot of effort and seen good results on domestic manufacturing.
No, I personally feel that domestic manufacturing actually gets advantage, because as I said, India's cost of manufacturing is much lower. Talent is much wider available and at lower pricing. And UK will not be able to produce its own components for automobiles, for hand tools, machine parts, handicrafts, gems and jewelry, leather footwear, ethnic apparel. A lot of these things which are in the MSME space is an advantage to India. Now, will some products come from the UK to India? For sure. That's the part of the deal that India will also open up the market. Do keep in mind the existing duties were already pretty benign. They were not very high duties between the two countries. And by reduction of some duties in areas like beverages, for example, or auto parts, where India is already very well endowed in terms of local manufacturing and local ecosystem, should not cause big concern. Yes, there will be some high-end cars coming into India, high-end drinks coming into India, but there's a sliver of the market which suits the British side because they need that extra market, but does not disturb a mass market in India.
Absolutely, and that's a very important point that Sunil Bharti Mittal makes. Viewers remember, he's someone who I've tracked, and I know that when Bharti went out doing some of its first large fundraisers globally, there were even concerns around opening up for foreign investment at that time, and see how much the needle has moved since then. Chandrajit, I want to come to the point about alcohol and inform our viewers that India is the largest importer of Scotch whisky, 192 million bottles in 2024, and very clearly those who drink will perhaps be looking forward to much cheaper tipples. But in terms of sectors within India which are very clearly amongst the top beneficiaries, which would you highlight?
What that this trade deal has done is very carefully navigated the agricultural sector, and you mentioned some of it, and I see that there is a phenomenal focus on certain smaller sectors in the agriculture, and you named fisheries, and that's a very important sector again, which opens up a lot of opportunities for our employment. Similarly, in the areas of agro processing and food processing, it would help a large number of our small and mid-sized companies to actually focus on those sectors which are also opening up a lot of opportunities for the food processing or Indian agro processing companies into the UK. So, and these are products and agriculture related, which also works favorably for India. I think the agricultural navigation in the FTA has been well maintained and well provided for.
Mr. Mittal, has it surprised you and a pleasant surprise at that contrasting to 20 years ago or 25 years ago, India is actually exporting significant amount of agriculture produce? It wasn't thought to be possible. There were logistical challenges. And do you see this trade deal also giving up a leg up to some of our agriculture produce?
Yeah. Having gone through it myself, we used to be the largest exporters of baby corn to the UK. We tried our hand on many other vegetables. It was hard at that time. There were no logistics. The airports were not equipped to handle cold processing and containers. So yes, we've come a long way. India is now also participating in the world's agriculture, floriculture, not in such a big way as it can, because our needs are very, very large for the country. But in some high value added areas like chilies, baby corn, capsicum, some very specialized high end fruits and vegetables, India is playing a role now, and I think it will only accelerate.
One of the things that we saw today was also an exhibition component where spices from India were also being exhibited. And I think that's another sector where the spice and plantation farmers will
really be greatly benefited from this trade deal.
Well, Chandrajit, you tempt me to get into a history lesson, which is the role of spices and the colonization of India, but we will leave that. I know you have other conversations, but Mr. Mittal, before I let you go, I also want to take a step back again on a broader point that is very clearly upon us, which is the bigger one in some ways, considering the importance that has been attached to renewing trade and tariffs by President Donald Trump. By all accounts, we seem to be at a stage where the file is on President Trump's desk. How significant will a first tranche trade deal be with the United States for India's overall appeal as an investment destination and a growing economy in this region?
I think India is very keen to close the deal as well, as much as the US side is. Inviting them to do more investments in India, setting up bases here, transfer of technology. I think they are all going to get very high marks and big thumbs up. Issue which will be contentious, as we all know, is agriculture, is dairy. So this is some areas where I think you may go into phase 2 and get an early harvest through an interim deal in the coming days.
Very clearly, and that, viewers, is going to be one of the most significant trade engagements that we have. Clearly, it will be the first part of what is likely to become a much larger engagement. But today, a historic day, a trade deal that's been worked on for 3.5 years and more has finally come to fruition with the United Kingdom, and very clearly is going to provide a template and possibilities for the future. Mr. Sunil Bharti Mittal, thank you very much for taking out the time to explain to our viewers what it really means, and Chandrajit Banerjee for representing the Indian industry point of view on this live coverage. Viewers, we'll take a break here, but we'll keep coming back with more content. We've been covering this live on all our platforms, Business Today Television, businesstoday.in, and we'll also have a comprehensive long-form story on the importance of this deal in the next edition of Business Today, an upcoming edition. Once again, thank you very much. We'll slip into a short break and see you on the other side. Bye-bye.
The special investigation team formed by the Karnataka government to probe the alleged Dharmasthala burials is expanding.